That as well as yours is, Robert.
Oh man, and I yeah. Let me tell you something about Dion and I are friends, and I appreciate his friendship. And the other day we were talking about this right after it happened, and Dion goes, "Hey, if you need me to come on," and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't want to do that to Dion. I don't. I really don't." And so I kind of saved him for later in the week, and I really don't want to get into um, necessarily in Dion's experience. Um, I think in the end, you had a positive experience. You were a captain. You got to fulfill a lot of your dream of being on the field and doing things that were important for your team. But you also had a dark time in your career too. And I don't necessarily, I'm not asking you to comment on it, but you tore an ACL. And I mean, we see what happens when athletes. And here's the worst part. And if you could change anything within a program, this would be one of the things I would change, but it happens everywhere. It's not just Oklahoma State. It's not just in college. It happens in the NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, high school. When guys get hurt, they can't go they're not on the same schedule as their teammates. They don't go to the same meetings. They don't go to practice anymore. They have rehab. They have to get their surgery first, all these things. And you kind of get outside the circle when you're hurt. And I think that happened with you a little bit. And it's tough because you want that camaraderie, and all of a sudden I've read pro players that get hurt talking about how the worst part of it is you just don't feel part of the team anymore.
Yeah, that's the big time thing that people once you're forgotten, no matter how for a short period of time it is, you're forgotten. I was listening to a podcast with Luke Walton, and he was talking about how his time with his back injuries and everything that was going on, and how in basketball, it's a different case because there's such few of them. There's about 15 players on the team, but uh, I'm blanking on the coach's name. Coach Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. Who's the coach I'm thinking about? Robert.
Yeah, you're
Phil
talking about.
Jackson.
Yeah,
Phil
yeah.
Jackson. Phil
Phil Jackson.
Jackson brings him into the coaching room to keep him involved with the team, involved with the everything that's going on, and that's how Luke Walton found his love of coaching. And it's rough in a situation where you're just by yourself or you're trying to go through it. Luckily, I had my best friend Devin, who was going through an Achilles injury at the same time. So
Achilles,
me
Devin
and him kind of
Hedgepeth.
yeah, me and him kind of bonded and brought each other along through that process. But yeah, it's a rough time, Robert.
Yeah, and how's Devin doing these days?
Man, Devin's doing amazing.
Yeah.
He did a little piece after all this with the newspaper in Derby, and I think he's going to try and send the letter. It was like an open letter to his home and how what he had to deal with growing up in Kansas, and I think he's going to do the same thing with Oklahoma. I know he's emailed some people at Oklahoma State. I know Coach Gundy was a part of that email about the diversity and how to make changes and how to improve things. So he's doing a good job, and he's trying to make this moment count.
You need to tell him to call me.
I'll definitely will.
Send him my number. I want to talk to him about that. Um, all right. Here's one thing I wanted to ask you and I realize you're a former player. You're not in the meeting room with these guys now with Coach Gundy and all this. But as you look at this from the outside, and here's one thing I've told a lot of people this week that have been critical of Chuba, and they shouldn't be. Believe me, Chuba was not doing this to put himself out there front and center, because Chuba's the kind of guy that would prefer not to be
Right.
front and center. He's not a glory seeker. He's not a guy. He's the guy that the sports information people have to kind of beg to go do media. It's just not, I mean, it's just not his nature. So that told me for Chuba to step out like this with that first tweet the other day, I guarantee you he paused before he hit send. I know. And then when he did hit send and it sounded the way it did, with all the attention, that it didn't take him long to be, uncomfortable. Now, I don't think he regretted it, and he said that, but I don't think this is the way Chuba would prefer to be living right now is in the spotlight because I don't think he cares for it. But from what you've observed, what are your thoughts about this week?
And let's go ahead and start on the topic that you just approached right now. And what a lot of people seem to be upset about is how Chuba went about, trying to create change at our university and in our football program. The tweet that, started it all. In this day and age, unfortunately, you cannot create change. Well, let me say you cannot. It's very rare that you can create change unless you're banging on pots and pans and saying, "Hey, hey, hey, look at this issue right here." It's unfortunate that that's the case. I mean, for example, and this is a comparison, but not, it's not as serious as what the situation we're dealing with right now. Last year, my air condition broke in the middle of June. And I was reminded because Twitter just popped up on my notification and said, "Hey, do you remember this tweet last year?" I had to tweet at my home warranty insurance company. I called them day and night for 2, 3 days. My AC doesn't work. I pay y'all every month. Hey, come fix this, come fix this, come fix this. I had to tweet them at 12 o'clock at night, Robert, and say, "I don't know what I'm paying for, but somebody at this company needs to come out here and do something." They got to me. They tweeted me back that night. They got to me that morning. I had somebody at my front door that next day. Sometimes to create change in this world, you have to scream it at the top of your lungs. Now, for Coach Gundy's part, I think he should be disappointed at the fact that in this situation, his star running back didn't feel comfortable enough to go to him man to man through a text, a call, a phone call, a meeting, some kind of way to come to him man to man and talk about the situation. I think he should be disappointed about that because he didn't foster that environment. But in this situation right here, it's kind of rough because Robert, at this time of the summer, Coach Gundy is doing so many other things, and he doesn't have a day-to-day, line of communication with the players. We don't really see him during this summer off-season workout period. So that might have been another situation where, because Chuba didn't see him day to day like he normally does during the football season or during the off season program, that line of communication wasn't there. But it's unfortunate that Chuba didn't feel comfortable enough to go to him, and he stated that, and he's made that point. But it is what it is. That's what started this whole thing.
Yes, and the good thing is, I think people are on the right page now. I think
Right.
I mean, what have you thought of Coach Gundy's response?
Man, you know what? The second apology video, the one where he was obviously reading from a teleprompter, me and you were now in this media industry, and I've read from a teleprompter, you read from a teleprompter. Those things are really hard to navigate. So people saying that his apology seemed insincere and everything like that, I didn't look at that way because I've been in those shoes before. And that thing is it's hard to articulate your feelings when you're reading it off one of those devices. But I appreciated the fact that Coach Gundy apologized not only to his current players but the former players, because man, I just came back from the barbershop and I'm getting thrown questions about this day in day out, and I appreciate that he acknowledged us in that in that platform. But at the end of the day, to at the beginning of this, Coach Gundy wore a shirt that he wasn't familiar with what that organization preaches day in and day out. And that's unfortunate. But when you do something like that, and I'm not here to tell anybody what they can say, what they can wear, or what they can do. You can do whatever you want in this world. You can do whatever you want. But the thing that you have to be ready for is the consequences that come after it. May it be good or bad, you have to be ready for the consequences that come after it. And that goes for Mike Gundy and that goes for Chuba. And everything right now, from what I'm seeing, they're moving forward in the right direction. And that's what's important. Moving forward in the right direction, creating those changes and making Oklahoma State, the football program and the university, a better place for all students and including the student athletes that go there.
Deion Imade with us, former Oklahoma State player, works in Tulsa now, works in the oil business, but also is in the media, works with us on the Cowboy Radio Network during football season, works with Triple Play Sports during the football season, works with high school broadcast in the state of Oklahoma. In fact, I saw him doing a commercial the other day about, some of the, best of high school broadcasts that are out there now. So yeah, that's that was good stuff. Good
Yeah, we got
coronavirus pandemic advertising.
we got a show going on called Forward High School Weekly, and I interview players and coaches all over the state of Oklahoma about high school athletics and everything. So it's been fun, especially during this pandemic.
Yeah, well, I saw that the other day. So good stuff there. And this next question, I'm gonna rely on your experience as a player. You went through a lot of things. You were on teams that went through a lot of things, including uh, you were on the 2011 team.
Yes, sir.
So and that was a very interesting. God, that season had a lot of interesting stuff in it, including a good result in the end, but could have been even better. We all remember that. But as you look forward now, and you're in the media business, I said this was my lament this morning, Dion. I'm not only hurt this week because my heart hurts because I love OSU and it's been a rough week for Oklahoma State, but I hurt too because I'm ashamed of the business I'm in the media because uh, I think the media has forgotten what a fair treatment of a story is. Um, and I think it's become, and I don't think Chuba wanted this. I think Chuba wanted Mike Gundy to realize that that shirt was wrong, and maybe realize there were some things in the program that could improve. And I think he's seen that, but the media has just made it pile on Mike Gundy time. And so I was going to ask you, how hard do you think this will be? And this is a minor thing. We got into this a little bit with Philip Redwine Bryant yesterday. Um, in that you know social change right now is very, that's at the front of the list. That and getting out of the pandemic are two things we really need to worry about. So winning football games in the fall, heck, whether there's a football season or not, it's probably more important than winning football games in the fall. But how hard do you think it will be for this team to get past this and get ready and go play a football season? Because hopefully that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, as far as all this that's being brought on Coach Gundy right now, and man, first and foremost, I want to say that I love Coach Gundy, and I truly did enjoy my time in Stillwater, in at OSU, and with the team. I mean, everybody has their own perspectives. Everybody has their own experiences. I didn't have any situations that I went through where I felt disrespected by Coach Gundy or was in a situation where I felt he, mistreated me or crossed the line in any way. So therefore, nobody can change the relationship that I have with Coach Gundy and my coach. So when I'm, sitting at home and seeing all the things, I'm literally watching ESPN 2 seconds ago and I see Coach Gundy up on there and I see people in the media. I've talked to media members here in Tulsa and some of them share the same sentiment as me where it's just, man, sometimes there's a line and people are crossing it. And it's unfortunate, but the day and age that we're in with this big cancel culture that everybody's all about, where you do one thing, you make one mistake, and nobody's trying to hear the apologies. Let's get that guy out of there. And I think sometimes you can't create change if you're doing that so often. You have to have a situation where people can make a mistake and repair those mistakes and make the world a better place and go on from that. As far as the team and I've been thinking about this for a while now, and I haven't got the chance to utter it until now. But you know what? As far as the team goes, when that sweep took place, and you saw all those teammates and formers and present guys galvanize around Chuba, that was as rough as it was, and as bad of a situation as it's become. It was a beautiful thing to see. You got to understand. I mean, you've played on teams before, Robert, and I'm sure most of your listeners have played on teams before. When you get on the gridiron together, it's you guys against the world. And when you saw that virally, those guys against the world, I think this is a situation that brings that team close together this year, that they take onto the field, and because they turn a negative into a positive as far as changing the things that occur at this university and on this team, and also on the field, because these guys are united as one in this one situation. Imagine what they'll be united as one on that field. I think this is something that brought the team closer together, and hopefully we see the results of that this fall.
And I see exactly where you're coming from. It's kind of funny. Philip Redwine Bryant didn't said it yesterday. A little more just succinct that he thinks he'll turn the negative into a positive. But here's the other thing too that I think about is I don't think the media is going to this story won't go away. In other
Yeah,
words, every televised game this season, which will be every game, it's going to be referred to probably early and maybe even often during the broadcast. You've got some other things that will happen as well. There's going to be a lot of requests for people to come in and talk to Chuba and Gundy and even some of the other players, and they're not going to want to talk football. They'll keep this story going. Um, and that's where you've heard it as well as I have, where players talk about, okay, at some point you have to focus on the internal and block out the outside noise, and that will be something I think they'll have to do this season.
yeah. And Coach Gundy talks about it all the time, that distractions are what kills a team. And this team, they've been placed in the limelight, and they're going to have to answer the call, and they're going to have to avoid the distractions and come together and not let it break them apart. It's going to be very important that is uttered throughout the locker room, especially during big games. I mean, as far as attention being there, there's a possibility that this team is going to be on a lot of TV screens, not just because of how good potentially they could be, but also because of the storyline that goes with them.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Deion Imade again with us. We're going to wrap it up with this. This is a caller question. I'm glad that Patrick sent it to me from the caller. And Deion, I don't think you're so old you can't put yourself in this place. You know, you're still. I still think of you as a young guy. Question from the caller: how would Dion react to all this if you were a recruit right now, being recruited by Oklahoma State?
Man, and that's the perfect question that I want to end this call on right now, Robert. Here's the thing, and this is what I want to echo to the OSU family and the OSU fan base. If I'm a recruit, I'm paying attention to not how the team is reacting, not how the coaching staff is reacting, because it's going to be positive. I mean, people are good people. I know them. I talk to them. What I'm really focused on right now is the Oklahoma State fan base, the fans and the family that I'm supposed to be a part of one day, the fans and the people that I'm supposed to be alumni one day. Here's the thing. Some of the things that I'm hearing from our fans and our alumni is very, very disheartening. You're not doing Mike Gundy any good. You're not doing this team any good if you're over here defending what that shirt represents. If you're over here defending and you're going against Chuba and against him speaking his mind, you're doing this team a disservice. Okay? I'm telling you right now, if anybody thinks they're going to come into Boone Pickens Stadium and boo Chuba, Mike Gundy, or this team because of what's going on right now, please do not come to OSU football games, basketball games, or any athletic activity because you're not going to be doing anybody any good. Nobody. You're just going to put this university back 20 years to where recruits are looking and say, I'm not going to go there. Why? And when that takes place, we start losing and things as far as change get pushed to the back burner. You cannot be out there, you know, cheering for guys to cross the goal line on 90-degree September afternoons and then on the back end tell them to shut up and just play ball. It doesn't work that way. Let me say this. It's not about politics. Black people are dying. Let me say it again. Black people are dying. I'm telling you right now, I'm working from home today, not because of the pandemic, because there's going to be a rally in Tulsa. And my mom is uncomfortable with me being in that office that close to where all that chaos is going to be. My mom, I gotta work from home to keep her peace of mind good. So she's not worried about her son in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care who who do you like politically, because that's on you. You vote your interest. But there's right and there's wrong. There's death and there's living. Help Black people make it home safe. That's all we're asking. That's right and that's wrong. And I'm just hope that this situation brings some good and everybody's listening and understanding how serious it is now. Do not boo or root against or tell players to shut up and don't speak your mind. That's not what we're here about. That's not what the Oklahoma fan base is about. We're good, loving people. Do not show the bad, show the good. And trust me, those recruits will show up and say, this is a good place to be.
I can't. I'm not even going to think about saying anything. That's Dion. I appreciate it.
Love you, Robert.
I love you too, man, and I will see you soon. And take care. Uh, and like I said, we'll talk soon.
Hey, you're doing a good job and keep up the hard work, man.
It's been a long week, my man. It's been
I
a
know
long
it.
week. All right, Dion, take care.